So today's tutorial is the quickest way to make a 100-piece block. And what I mean by that is if you wanted to make a block that is 10 squares by 10 squares, like this one, the quickest way to sew them all together rather than having to make 10 rows of 10 pieces and chain stitch them on the machine. So this one here has got 1/2 inch squares. So each of those started off as an inch, but that also means that the same amount of fabric is on the back because of the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you can make these other sizes. You don't have to make it so that it finishes up at 1/2 inch square. If you decide you want them to finish up at an inch square, then you just need to make the squares that we talk about in this tutorial 1.5 inches. So you're just going to add 1/2 inch to whatever you finish size that you want it's going to be. These blocks are great for pixel quilts particularly, and that's what I'm making. My actual plan is to make a quilt which will look like this. So it's going to say, oops, upside down, everything not saved will be lost, which is from the Nintendo end screen, and I'm hoping to have that ready for QuiltCon, but we'll see. I've got a month and a bit left to make these. So yes, so this is how I make pixel blocks. I promise that you'll only need to go to your iron twice to make this, and it should be a lot quicker than sewing 100 pieces together end to end, but you have to be kind of okay with them being a little wonky, which I actually prefer the look of just because they're so small. As you get bigger and you make bigger square pixel blocks, you will have a little less wonkiness. So you're going to need a piece of muslin or scrap fabric that's very plain, and you're going to draw your grid onto it. So my grid is going to be 1 inch squares because that's the unfinished size. So if you're making 1 inch finished squares, you're going to make these squares are going to be 1.5 inch big. So I've got 10 by 10 marked out on here, and I just did that by just getting a ruler. I used a quilting ruler and just a normal marker pen. Don't use a Frixion pen because we're going to be pressing this, and you just mark out your grid. You can even just use a pencil. In fact, that actually might be what I did use in the end. So we're going to take that over to the pressing mat or your ironing board. So once you're at your pressing mat, you're going to need the lightest fusible interfacing you can find. Mine looks like this. And I don't bother measuring this, so you could do if you wanted. But what I do is let's find a straighter edge. I lay it over the grid, and then I cut, because I can see the grid through here. I cut it so that I can still see the edge of the grid all the way out. So this isn't overlapping the grid, it's actually slightly smaller than the grid space. And then I just cut out roughly, because it doesn't really have to be super accurate, the inside of that outer edge of the grid. And I actually don't even mind that I've got this frayed edge of the interfacing on there either. Get rid of that. This is a woven interfacing. I prefer the look of that, so we're going to just keep it so that it's the glue side up, not down. The glue needs to be facing upwards, so we're not going to press this with an iron just yet. So it should look like this within your grid. And then you'll need some squares that you've cut out to either the 1 inch or the 1.5 inch size. So these are my 1 inch ones that will finish up at 1/2 inch. And then you're going to use the grid in the background because you can see through this interfacing, and you're just going to place those wherever you want. And this bit actually can take quite a bit of time because you are placing 100 squares. Once the whole thing is covered, you're then going to press it with the iron, and then once you've done that, it will look like this. So I'm actually spelling words with mine, and this is what an unfinished block looks like for me. So it's got 100 squares on there, and the backing is that fusible stuff, and then we're going to take this to the sewing machine. Okay, so once we're at the machine, we're going to fold one of the edges in. So you can start doing rows or you can do columns, doesn't really matter, but you're going to fold it right sides together from one of the outer edges, and then you're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam up there. I'm using black thread because most of my squares are black. So it will now look like this with that folded edge here, and you're going to keep going and do all of the columns. So we should have 9 seams in total. So now you've sewn all your columns, it'll kind of roll up like this, but if you unroll it, you'll have, you'll have half of it sort of sewn together, and you'll have like these long rectangle-y bits, and the back will look like this. The next thing you need to do is get a pair of small sharp scissors. Embroidery scissors are probably pretty good for this, and you're going to, this takes a bit more time than you think. You're going to get your scissors and stick them through that little fold that you have there, and you're going to cut the folds open. You can as well, if your seam allowances are a little bit bigger than mine are a scant 1/4 of an inch, you could actually just trim it this way, and that would be a little bit quicker, but you're going to do that for all 9 folds. Once you've cut all of those seams open, we're back at the ironing station because we need to press those seams open. So I tend to just work one at a time from an outside edge, and just kind of open those seams up with my fingers, so be careful not to burn yourself, and then just gently work my way across. You can give it a bit of steam if you want. So that's that seam pressed open here. We're just going to work our way across the other ones. Alright, so that's all of the columns done. So this is going to be like my R and then most of my Y. So the next thing to do is exactly what we did before. You're going to fold right sides together, starting from one end, and you're going to sew a 1/4 of an inch for each of those rows. So that's another 9 seams. This was my last row, so I've got another big curly thing which looks a lot more like what we're going for when you unroll it, but as before we're going to cut along those folds, we're going to press them open, and then we should finish our block. All of the seams are now cut, so I'm going to press those too. Again, just be careful you don't burn or scald yourself with the steam. I usually stay 1 or 2 folds ahead, and if not, I pull the iron back. And this round of pressing is a little bit more tricky than the first one, just because you've got those other seams running vertically to work with as well. And we're just going to keep on going. Instead of pushing the iron along, which can close up some of the previous lines, I try and kind of use the point of the iron and then apply pressure downwards. So it can be a little bit fiddly, this part, but we have finished the block. All we might need to do is square it up after we've pressed it. And if you're worried about your fingers, you can use a stiletto as well, just to hold those open. So once you've finished pressing the back, I'm just going to give it a quick press on the front, just because it might just be curling up a little bit. I use lots of steam again. And then my block's done, but I might just have to square it up a little bit. But there it is. So I hope you found my tutorial useful. I now have this block to stitch to this block. I think it's that way around. Yeah. That's that block done too. Still got a long way to go. If you have an idea for a tutorial that you would like me to cover, just leave me a note in the comments. And as always, if you subscribe to my channel, I will try and produce at least a couple of these a month if I can find the time to do those. And you can find the subscribe button just below this video.